Hello everyone, I hope you all are doing good and your studies are going on well. So today is 26th of November and we profoundly celebrate it as our Constitution Day or the Sambhal Divas on the account of 75th anniversary of Indian Constitution. In our first article, we the people of India will be reflecting upon the values and features of our Constitution that it has given to us. In the second article, we will analyze what is welfare politics and how can it undermine democracy at times. Then we will further simplify 5 other articles for you, enriching them with prelims boosters. To make the best out of this discussion, students, do not forget to download the handout PDF from the comment box below. So let's get started. So students, as today is 26th of November, we are going to celebrate the 75th Constitution Day of India, also known as the National Law Day or the Sambhal Divas. In light of that, almost all the newspapers have got multiple editorials analysis on how our constitution still thrives and how it will show India its way. So in line of that, and especially with regards to GS paper 2, we will be having detailed reflection upon the constitutional values, fundamental principles and salient features of the Indian Constitution that our forefathers have bestowed upon us. Okay, so let's get started. So our Constitution begins with preamble, and it is in the preamble itself where this date has been particularly written, which is the date of adoption of Indian Constitution. Please remember, this is not the date of enactment of Indian Constitution, which is a question from my side to you, which is the date when our Constitution finally got enacted and made us a republic. But again, this particular day of 26th of November, where will you find it? You will find it in the preamble, which is the identity card, the horoscope of our Constitution, right? In here, all the constitutional principles have been written. The very fact that which kind of republic are we? We are sovereign, socialist, secular and democratic republic. And then all of the things which are secured for us, the people of India, that is justice of social, economic and political, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith and worship, equality of status and opportunity for all, fraternity, ensuring the dignity of individual and the unity and integrity of the nations. Now the areas which are highlighted, that is sovereign, secular, integrity, these words have been added by the 42nd Amendment 1976 into the Preamble of India and recently has been contested in the Supreme Court. You must have already made it, clear by our previous analysts. So I will not be covering on that, but yes, Apex Court has dismissed the petition against the amendments made on the preamble by 42nd Amendment by saying that they are completely constitutionally valid and they have been widespreadly accepted with their meaning by the people of India. Okay. In order to commemorate the 75th anniversary, a new development has also taken place, which is a part of current affair. For the first time ever, India has got its Constitution Museum, which is inaugurated in Sonipat, O.P. Jindal University. So it is not there in Delhi, it is not there in any government building, but at a private university. Please remember the name. Now, let's start discussing about the salient features of the Indian Constitution. The first and the foremost one is that we have got the lengthiest written constitution in the world. It all started with us having 395 articles, today standing at 470 articles which are clubbed into 25 parts and 12 schedules, right? So this is world's lengthiest constitution. And if you compare it with the US Constitution and similar alike, you will find them only containing 7 articles that were very shortly written. But in our case, because what is the reason for this elephantine size of the Indian Constitution? Give me 4 reasons. First reason is the geographical distribution of our country. We are varied, we are diverse, we are covering a lot of areas, a lot of people, their concerns, their issues, and we have to safeguard all of them into one constitution. Second, unlike the US Constitution, do we have two citizenship or 2 constitutions? No, we have got only single constitution, that is both for state and both for the center, and therefore it accommodates the features of both the state legislature, the state executive, or controlling governance of the state and controlling the governance of the center. Okay, the next is the fact that it was written mostly by the lawyers makes it a little bit complex in its tonality and its length because of the legal language predominantly used in our constitution, right? So these are some of the reasons which makes it elephantine size. Next is, anyway, we have accepted it and we are very proud of it. Next is, this one is drawn from various sources. So you know that more than 2 years, approximately 2 years, 11 months were taken to complete this constitution. This was actually a record time to create the lengthiest constitution of the world. And most of the credit goes to a lot of resources that our constitution makers were referring to. For example, we got our parliamentary system. We got a parliamentary system on the basis of Westminster model from British or from Britain, UK. UK has also given us the principle of rule of law. Then coming to, and obviously single citizenship. Then we have got your USA. So USA, the Bill of Rights of USA has been inspiring for our fundamental rights, right? And our judiciary is also inspired from USA. Then from USSR, what do we have derived from USSR? Tell me. The socialist principle, and generally the socialist principle which drives the fundamental duties. Then where do we have got our DPSPs from? So our DPSPs, we have derived it from the Irish Constitution. Then there are certain provisions related to emergency. We have got it from the Weimar Constitution of Germany. Then we have got the amendability in the constitution as well. So that is provided by the Constitution of South Africa. So just imagine our range, right? And one question to you, that which feature, or let's say I'm writing the feature, you tell me the country. Okay, so the feature of having concurrent list in our Indian constitution has been derived from which part of the world, which country of the world? Try to comment it in the box. So now, of course, we've understood that there are various range of countries, and alongside we have got our British laws as well, the 1935 Government of India Act, which has been the main bulwark behind the Indian constitution. So we are inspired from varied sources. One of the reasons why we are the lengthiest constitution in the world. Second is, we have got a blend of flexibility and rigidity. What do I mean by that? So we have got certain features. See, our constitution is very, very rigid when it becomes very difficult to amend it. Let's say in the case of USA, it requires special amendments to be made. So we have got partly that features as well, where in some part of our constitution, the amendments have to only be made by special majority. But like the UK, where the laws can be changed very easily just by simple majority, we have got certain parts of the constitution which can be amended just like ordinary laws, just by passing them with simple majority. So the fact that our constitution can be amended by both special majority and simple majority makes it flexible. It's a blend of rigid and flexible. Next is, we are also a blend of the federal system and the unitary system. So therefore, we are called as federal system with unitary bias. Just for the context, we are known as quasi-federal. Who called us quasi-federal for the first time? It was Casey Weir. We were also called the bargaining federalism with a central bias, right? So bargaining federalism by Morris Jones. We were also called cooperative federalism. There are different interpretations to India's federalism. Cooperative federalism by Granville Austin. So there are multiple interpretations of how our federal structures work, but yes, we have got certain unitary features, we've got certain federal features. Can you name some federal features? So for example, we have got everything in two cases, right? In two ways, split into union and state. So for example, division of power, we have got a union list and we have got a state list. Then the parliament is also created in two fashions. So we have got Lok Sabha, we have got Rajya Sabha. We have got parliament at state level also, we've got parliament at central level also, right? So parliament is there is division of power. Then of course we have got the independent judiciary. We have got independent judiciary where the high courts are empowered to make decisions on their own on both central laws and state laws. So in that ways we are also federal. But how are we then unitary, and how do we have unitary bias? The fact that we have single constitution, we have got single citizenship, and most of these special amendments have to be are generally made by the center alone. And secondly, we have got an integrated judiciary. Please remember, integrated judiciary is a part of our unitary system, right? Because end of the day, the subordinate courts have to appeal to High Court, and end of the day they have to appeal to Supreme Court, which is again situated at the unitary level, right, at the central level. Fine. Also, the All India services for which you are aspiring. So all the officers which are deployed at state level, they are appointed at the central level. So this is also unitary bias, and a classic example would be the emergency provision. So the moment emergency comes in, the federal structure goes out, right? So these are some of the features which makes us quasi-federal. Okay, next is we've got a parliamentary form of government. This has been derived from the British mode of parliament, which is also known as the Westminster part of parliament. And see, what is parliamentary form of government is basically that both the legislative and the executive are working in cooperation and coordination with each other. And that is why you know that UPSC has been asking this statement very much in the prelims examination, that it is a collective responsibility of the executive towards the Lok Sabha, right? So this is a classic example of how both the real and the nominal executives are there. The majority are there in the parliament, the majority rule is there, and of course that there's a collective responsibility of the executive towards the parliament, right? Specifically Lok Sabha. Okay, so then there is a synthesis of parliamentary sovereignty. So parliament can make laws on almost every subjects, but at the same time they are subjected to judicial review as well if they infringe any of the basic structure of fundamental rights of the Indian Constitution. So we have also got judicial supremacy and parliamentary sovereignty balancing off each other, correct? Then we have got an integrated judiciary as well as independent judiciary. What is an integrated judiciary? Where there is a method of appeals. So the method of appeal is there, so all the judiciaries are integrated to each other, but they are independent as well. Because unlike the US Parliament, where the federal court, the state court can only make jurisdictions on the state laws, not on the union laws, our high courts can make judgments on both central laws and state laws. So in that way, they are very much independent. Okay, next are the fundamental rights, the main rights which safeguards the very human rights and dignity of the people of India. So the fundamental rights are covered in which part? Part 3 of the Indian Constitution. We have got total 6 of the fundamental rights. They are not absolute, they are not sacrosanct, but at the same time all of them are justiciable. Okay, next is DPSP is covered under. DPSP essentially is not justiciable, but these are the directives given to the state, so that they can finally generate or create a welfare state for the people of India. Okay, and this is covered under Part 4 of the Indian Constitution. We all know about it. Now, initially, the Constitution was not having the fundamental duty. Please remember, we are trying to revise everything of your polity from this salient feature of Indian Constitution. Also, please remember this fact that this question gets asked very frequently in your mains. Okay, so please prepare vividly for this. So the fundamental duties were not initially a part of the Indian Constitution, but eventually they were derived and they were included through the Swarn Singh Committee recommendation through the 42nd Amendment 1976, and it also got amended, do you know? So when it got amended, can you tell me? And how many duties are there in the fundamental duty? Can you write that in the comment section? I will be checking that. Then, the very fact that we are a secular state, the fact that we are a secular state is safeguarded not just by one fundamental right. Typically, we think that Article 25, 26, 27, 28, they are safeguarding our secularism. But not only that, the other articles 14, 16, which provides us equality in opportunity and, which are enforcing our rights and which are prohibiting the discrimination, all of them are making us secular. And we are different from Western secularism because in Western secularism, state and religion are completely different. But in our case, yes, all the religions are completely respected, equally respected, but yes, state has a principal distance, which means the moment state feels that any of the other religious community has been impinged upon or has been hurted, then in that case, they can make some intervention as well. This is the classic case of Indian Constitution, okay, which appreciates Sarva Dharma Sambhav, okay. Next is that we provide universal adult franchisee. So anybody with age of 18 or more than 18 has got the right to vote in India in accordance with Article 326 of the Constitution, which also makes it a constitutional right that is given upon us. Of course, not a fundamental right, but a constitutional right, because nobody can be discriminated upon this. And you should be knowing this fact as well, that initially, before 1988, 21 years of age was the set limit, but through the 61st Amendment, 1988, we saw this change, and everybody having age of 18 years or more will now be eligible for the universal adult franchisee, right? And because, of course, as I am including more number of people because I'm cutting down the cutoff, so therefore the administration work of the Election Commission of India will obviously increase. So before 1888, you will find Election Commission of India to be only a single membered body. But now, because more number of people have increased, administrative load has increased, and therefore now it has finally become a 3-membered body. Okay. Now we have got single citizenship. So I'm not a citizen of Madhya Pradesh. You are not a citizen of Jammu and Kashmir. We are citizen of India only, right? The fact that we are quasi-federal is also suggested from the Article 1 of the Indian Constitution. Nowhere has it written that we are a federation, unlike the USA Constitution. They have written that we are a union of states, correct? So this also suggests that we have got a very strong central structure. Next is we have got independent bodies, independent regulatory bodies, for example, the Election Commission of India, UPSC, the state PCS, CAG, etc. So all of them are the independent bodies working independently so that they can serve to create a welfare state as promised in the DPSP. Next, we have got emergency provisions, which has strong centralizing tendency, right? We all know about emergency provision. It is under three articles. Article 352, which imposes the national emergency. Then we have Article 356, which imposes state emergency, also known as Precedence Rule. And then we have got 360 article, which imposes the financial emergency. And you must be knowing that in India, we have never fortunately got the financial emergency imposed upon us. Okay, so these are the things, and we have got 3-tiered government. So before actually the year 1992, we were only 2-tiered because we had a central government, we had a state government, but now we have 3 tiers of government with equal importance given to the 3rd tier, which is the local self-government, the municipalities and the panchayats empowered under the 73rd Amendment and the 74th Amendment of 1992. Then we have also got provision and fundamental right to create cooperative societies in India. So these are some of the salient features. Now, can you tell me the script of the original constitution has been written by whom? So the calligraphist, the Italian calligraphist was Prem Bihari Narayan Raizada. So he is not Italian, but his art of writing the calligraphic script was Italianized. Okay. Next, the artists who have decorated the entire pages of constitution were working under the guidance, were from Shanti Niketan, working under the guidance of Nandan Lal Bose. Okay. Then it was drafted by a 7-membered committee, of whom B.R. Ambedkar was a chairperson. So we know about these basic features. The other salient features we finished up quickly. Now, what are the core constitutional values of India or of the Constitution of the India? Okay. First and foremost is that we follow the Sarvodaya principle, which means everyone should be uplifted and shouldn't be discriminated on any ground. So this is different from Antyodaya. Antyodaya means the proper service delivery or more targeted service delivery to the last mile people. So empowerment of the last miles were Antyodaya principle. This is by Deen Dayal Upadhyay, and Sarvodaya principle is something that is aiming to create a Ram Rajya where everybody is getting equal opportunities, equal statuses, etc. This is Ram Rajya. Okay. Next is socialism. So we follow in India Gandhian socialism. Of course, Nehru, when he came with the ideas of socialist as well. So we have got the socialist principles in our preamble, in our DPSPs, in our fundamental rights. Next is the idea of humanism. So humanism means that at the time of any conflict, let's say conflict between 2 nations, at that time also India will take regards of humanism more than nationalism. So this is promoted by Rabindranath Tagore. The integral humanism has been given by Deen Dayal Upadhyay. So basically, humanism means that you have to take into regards the life, respect and safety of humans up and above any other state entity that has been created. So humanism is up and above everything else. Next is we believe in the value of decentralization, and that is why 73rd, 74th Amendment were made. We have got Schedule 11, Schedule 12, right? Then we also follow liberalism. So we do not follow the kind of Western liberalism, but liberalism in the sense that almost all the institutions that we have in India, they are representative in nature, right? For example, you take into regards the National Human Rights Commission. It has become highly representative body because we follow that liberalism. Okay. Next is the mixed economy. So we give equal opportunity to both state and private sectors to thrive together to contribute into our economy. And then everything is supported by the very basic principle of Gandhism, which is of non-violence, supporting the cottage industries, village, and obviously forbidding and prohibiting the use of liquor, alcohol, drugs, etc. Okay, so in our DPSPs also, therefore, you will find three different kind of DPSPs, right? One would be your socialist principles, right? Then one would be the Gandhian principles. So all these Gandhian principle DPSP you can quote in your answer because these are the Gandhian values only. And then we have got the liberal intellectual provisions of DPSP, right? So alongside, we also facilitate smooth transition of the power through proper election, which takes time. Bipolls are also there. Then protection of rights and freedom in part 4 and part 3 of the Constitution. Then strengthening the federalism. These are the core constitutional values. And how do we ensure that we are strengthening the federalism? The fact that the supremacy of Constitution is there. The fact that we have a written Constitution. So it is not very easily amendable. It cannot be changed without the co-consensus of the states. So we have provisions to strengthen the federalism, and we have respect for the democratic institutions, and therefore they have been given good amount of autonomy as well. Okay. Now, what is the significance of Constitution? First and foremost, it provides rule of law. See, it's an axiom that men cannot be ruled by men, but only by law, because no man is infallible. Only laws are infallible. And what are laws? What is this rule of law? It is actually the wisdom of not just one person, but collective wisdom of the common man in the society. Why am I telling you this? Because this statement was directly asked in UPSC prelims. This is how you develop your understanding and conceptual clarity in polity subjects. Okay, to facilitate that, I would highly recommend to go for a reading of the 11th standard NCERT of polity. Okay. Anyway, the significance is there because it is inherently protects the very rights that we have. The fundamental rights are a part of Constitution only. It is a Constitution which has made them justiciable. You can move out to the court the moment you feel your rights are being harmed, right? So it facilitates the protection of rights, because without rights, men will become very cruel, men will become animals, right? Then it provides a proper structure of government, not only at the central level, but also at the state level and also at the local levels, right? Then it gives us certain democratic principles to adhere to, which have been envisioned by our forefathers when they were fighting for the freedom. And they are very much encapsulated in different parts of Constitution, but particularly in preamble and the DPSPs, Directive Principles of State Policy. Then it enforces the national unity. The very first line of preamble, when it says that we the people of India are giving us this Constitution, it claims that it asks for and it creates all of these lengthy provisions only to enforce the national unity of the people. Next is, it provides legal framework as to how different machineries of the government would be working accordingly, so that there is a uniform SOP for everybody to look after, right? And then it is also quick on adaptability. It's a very flexible Constitution. We have seen a lot of amendments. We have incorporated now more than 470 articles, all because we are very adaptive. We are not adamant like USA that we are not going to change. We will change the moment we feel that our people of India are calling for the change. Okay, this is the significance of the Constitution, my dear students, and that is why we need to safeguard it and keep it very close to our hearts and conscience. Okay, now Constitution Day has been asked in prelims examination. So very quick prelims pointer, this day is also celebrated as National Law Day and Sambhal Divas, because on this particular day we adopted the Constitution. We have not enacted but adopted it. We have enacted it on 26th of January 1950, which is when we also celebrate our Republic Day. Okay, then it was created by the drafting committee, which was constituted by the Constituent Assembly on this day, 29th of August 1947. And this particular day, the Constitution Day, it has not been there since 1950s. We started celebrating it only after the announcement by Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. They made this declaration on 9th of November 2050, and ever since that day, 26th of November is getting commemorated as the day to celebrate our Constitution. Okay, here is a prelim pointer for you. It's also UPSC PYQ, and here is a practice mains question I'm expecting you to do at your home very diligently. Okay, now Let's move on to the next topic, and this is about welfare politics. Now, students, in the previous salient feature of Constitution, we very well understood that the agenda of policymakers is to establish the welfare state by incorporating several directives that have been given under the Part 4th, which is Directive Principle of State Policy. So, to enact that, the intention of all the policymaker naturally would be to bring up the welfare policies for the people. Now, it seems like such a good thing. We all want to have schemes. We all want to be facilitated by the government that we have created. So, where exactly is this politics getting converted into the freebie politics? And where exactly this welfareism is getting converted into politics itself? We will be looking at here, because recently the very famous CSDS Lokniti survey has highlighted how government schemes shape voting patterns in India. And once you have cracked the code that by giving this kind of scheme I will be able to garner these number of votes, then essentially you are demeaning the democracy. So therefore, how we as the informed citizens should be knowing, as informed voters should be knowing about what is the difference between welfareism and what is the difference between a freebie dependent culture. Okay, so this corresponds to this part of GS paper 2. Have a look into this. So first of all, let us see what are the arguments in favor of welfare schemes in India. Now everybody will support, everybody will acknowledge this, that we need government schemes, specifically when we are a developing nation, we are aspiring to be developed, we still have a lot of socio-economic and health related indicators which are performing very poorly, we are striking number 1 in malnutrition, etc. So of course we need government interventions. But students, to what extent do you need that? To understand that, first of all, let's see why do we need welfare scheme in the first place? Majorly because of poverty alleviation. We all know that India is standing among top 10 countries with highest ranges of poverty, which makes it a very saddening fact that how will you eliminate poverty? Because we have got, world's largest population. So many people are dying out of hunger and poverty. So how will you remove it? You would be requiring intervention from the state. And of course, if the taxpayer money is going in the form of contributing towards alleviating the poverty of the marginalized section, even we will feel good and proud, right? So it is very well worthy to give the government, to give the schemes for poverty alleviation. Okay. Next is reducing the economic and social inequalities, because think about it, the inequalities that have percolated especially into Indian societies are not just currently made, they are dating back to historical times. From that time we've been having economic inequality in the form of zamindari system, very exploitative. Then we got bonded labor, and we got the system of untouchability as well. So all of them are already abolished by the fundamental rights of our country. But at the same time, to empower them more, to remove these inequalities further, certain kind of welfare schemes have to be, the government has to come up with it. So students, please remember that welfares can be achieved through two means. One is to disempower the inequality in the society and to empower the equality and equity in the society. Okay, to disempower the inequality, which is also very much a part of Article 39, given by, given by the DPSP of our country. So therefore, we have got Article 17, which abolishes untouchability. We have abolished bonded labor. We have abolished the zamindari system. So all of this is to disempower the inequalities. This could be one type of welfare scheme. The second type of welfare scheme would be to provide them better employment opportunity, equality in the employment opportunity, giving them proper food, giving them nutrition, especially to the children, giving them education, which is also a part of not only our fundamental right but also fundamental duty. DPSP, everywhere it's there, right? So welfare works in two fashion. So one would be definitely to reduce the inequality, because a developed country cannot thrive in great inequality. It will never be able to do that. Next is facilitating human development. There are three scales of facilitating human development. One, the healthcare factor. Second, their education factor. Third is the standard of living. By improving these metrics, we will be able to create a population which is capable of living with dignity, which is capable of thriving a life which is worth living, right? So basic human development is required. So for that, if you're providing them rations, if you're providing them PDS, support of food, support of agriculture, let's say you're providing support for skill training, etc., then it is very much okay. Next is crisis management. So see, now think about this. When COVID came, a lot of people were getting impoverished because the food could not reach to them, right? At that time, government formulated the Antyodaya Anna Yojana, and this was a very important one to provide food specifically and preferentially to the marginalized section, and the impact it made was huge. So of course it helps in crisis management as well, especially in the disaster prone areas, especially in areas which are uncontemplated, for example COVID, something like that, right? And it also obviously facilitates the political stability, because see what happens, it is the marginalized section who feels the most depraved and deprived, and very quickly as well. So the moment you will stop providing them facilities or welfare scheme, they will enrage towards you, leading to some of the things like Naxalism, or they can get radicalized very easily by the external forces. Eventually they will try to destabilize the government of the day, right? Which is also not very good for a functional, healthy democracy, right? So it also provides political stability. So we have made all the positive arguments. Now, why should we be very careful of these government schemes, of these welfare schemes? Because there are certain arguments against them as well. It is not just this particular article, but Supreme Court also and various other political parties have time and again told that these free welfare schemes often turn out into the freebie distribution culture, also known as the revdi culture in Hindi. Okay, so first of all, we need to distinguish between what is a welfare scheme and what is a freebie. Essentially, it depends upon two things. One, whether it is facilitating the need of the people or not. Second, whether it is making any long-term benefits or not, whether this is given to the people or not. Now just imagine, one government provides laptops and even golden Mangal Sutra to the voters. Is this in any way a welfare scheme? It is only trying to enhance the dependency of the people on them so they can vote for that particular party again and again. On the other hand, there are welfare schemes, for example Manrega, which tries to provide them employment opportunity, right? There's one more thing that I needed to highlight. See, what is the difference between equality, facilitating equality, and equity? So let's just learn this with the help of a very quick example. So let's say I have got 5 people in the room. I have 5 people in the class, okay? And one day I felt that all of them are hungry, so I decided to give all of them burgers on my birthday. I am facilitating equality, which means distribution of the resources irrespective of any discrimination. So to everybody I'm giving the same thing. Okay. For example, we have got the PM Kisan. Almost all the Kisan brothers and sisters are getting the facility of the scheme. Okay, this is to facilitate equality. Then what is to facilitate equity? This is to give targeted delivery of the resources to the most marginalized section. For example, I can again see these 5 students now, but I believe that these 2 people are more hungry as compared to these 3 people because of their financial conditions. So that is why I probably would be giving 2 burgers to them, and probably I will leave out one of them. I will not give them a burger to them, or probably I will give 1 burger and I will divide it into 3 and distribute among the 3 of them. This is how I'm facilitating equity. I'm not doing the equal distribution of resources. Now, why am I teaching you this? Also, what is an example of this equity scheme? So we have got Manrega. Manrega is that example. Okay. Then we have got your Antyodaya Anna Yojana. Okay, they are specifically designed for the marginalized section only. Now, the reason why I'm telling you this distinguishment is because it was asked in this year means with regards to women equality and equity. Okay, so this conceptual clarity is required from your side. Okay, now let's move to the other parts, the other issues. One is the financial burden. See what happens. Once one government has promised to give you the benefits of, let's say, PDS, or let's say the benefit of providing free fertilizers, then every other government has to carry up that responsibility along with innovating their own schemes, which is eventually creating financial burden on the exchequer. Correct? In fact, many a times the CAG has also reported that just because the government has promised to, provide, in fact, Supreme Court has highlighted that just because a particular government has promised to provide laptops to everybody, they have bypassed the resources which could have gone for improving the infrastructure of colleges and school, improving the teacher quality in education. So, of course, you are diverting it to, the more short-term incentives, right? Next is corruption and leakage will always be there. The more number of schemes, the more number of leakages, the more number of disruption, misappropriation of the fund is likely to happen. Then this can obviously cause market distortion. If you provide heavy subsidies, then of course the private players will get disincentivized. Because if let's say a farmer is producing something, or let's say an industry which is government aided is producing something because of government subsidies at 2 rupees, and private entity is producing the same thing at 20 rupees, where are you going to go to buy the product? Of course, to the government entity. This is disrupting the market or not? This is not good for the economy in the long run, right? So it causes market distortions. Next, it can cause political gain as well. So it has been seen, you can see here as well, that there was a petition against the DMK that they promised in 2006 to announce free mixers, laptops and golden Mangal Sutra to the people of Tamil Nadu. And this also helped them very much. They were able to accord about 41% of the total votes in that year. So of course, it leads to political gains in many ways, hampering the culture of democracy. Next is, it obviously would create dependency on one person. Now let's say government comes up with a scheme of universal basic income. A very promising scheme, but just imagine that everybody is getting 5,000 rupees per month. Then what will happen? Nobody would like to push themselves and go for work. Nobody would want to become self-reliant because they feel government is giving us anyway. So we will not build our skills, we will not go out, we will not hustle, we will not try to work. This will erode the work ethic and eventually economy in the longer run. Are you getting these points? So then what can we do about it? First of all, we should clearly know the line between what is welfare and what is a freebie. Freebie is just to lure the voter for a short time. Let's say somebody is coming and telling that they'll be providing free liquors to everybody. Is it good? Versus some parties telling that I will be providing free rice and free, certain kind of food products that are procured from the tribals to the marginalized sections of the society. Even if it is not benefiting you directly, you should be supporting that party because they are going to work in longer run. This is more sustainable of a scheme, correct? Next is focus, of course, on the long term and holistic development of the society, not just of your own, not just for the personal short term use, but longer run of the society. What will aid India in long term? What will build and develop India holistically in long term? Next, encourage entrepreneurship and employment at all the costs. Entrepreneurship especially facilitates self-reliance upon oneself, so that we not only become the consumers but also producers, not only of the product but also of the employment, right? Which is very much required, so that we become less reliant on the government, so that we can now independently use our rational decision as to choose which should become the government of the day. Okay. Next is empower community participation, because I have told you rule of law is created from the common sense of the public, common sense of the common man. Okay. Collective wisdom always comes through community participation. And next is, Amartya Sen also told us that development doesn't mean that you should be providing resources, but you should be making them capable enough to produce their own resources. So we should be moving from development, the rhetoric development approach, to more capability based approach. Now, if you are interested in reading about the highlights of the CDS survey, it supports all of the things that I'm already telling you. You can obviously see that the beneficiaries of the schemes have been more likely to give the votes to the party or the party bloc which led to the creation of these schemes, which announced these schemes. So all of these data, if you want to read, please check out in the handout. Now here is the mains practice question. We have already discussed what are welfare schemes, pros and cons. So now discuss the role of welfare scheme in shaping the electoral outcome and their implication for governance and policy making. Now the next topic is about stubble burning. So I know you have got bored out of reading stubble burning. We know that air quality in NCR is really bad because of stubble burning and many other issues. We also know that what is CAQM and how this body is working out, how it has been criticized by a lot of people. You must have already covered this. Previous analysts must have already facilitated that. Now what we are trying to cover in this text and context section is how the problems in the satellite observance has created this problem, has eventually led us to directly jump onto the grade 4 of the action plan. That was the quality of aerosols and air pollution in India. So it starts by stating the fact that despite taking a lot of measures, Supreme Court has made active intervention. We have very readily adopted the GRAB stage 4 measures. There is stopgap measures by the Delhi government. So many things are going on. Still the air quality is not getting better in NCR. What could be the reason? So I'll tell you, and this is a very interesting reason as well. So First of all, most of the credit for this pollution goes to stubble burning. So what is stubble burning? It is a practice by the farmers who grow the kharif crops in the summer seasons. Kharif crops, for example, rice, which requires a lot of water, so they get it from the monsoon. And now they have to clear off the crop for the next harvest, that is for the Rabi season. Now, what is the reason that farmers, especially in Punjab and Haryana, resort to stubble burning? They burn the stubble instead of using a lot of new technologies that we have created for them. The reason is that stubble burning doesn't take a lot of time. And they also don't have a very long gap between the Kharif season and the Kharif harvesting season and the Rabi growing system. And that is because of a lot of water policies and state policies, which we'll be discussing later. And also because of the reason of cost, it is more inexpensive, thing for them. It also requires less time. So for these reasons, they often resort to stubble burning, which is the main cause, because during the winters, when the wind starts moving towards NCR, it carries all those, pollutants towards Delhi NCR. And here, because of the temperature inversion, these aerosols get suspended in the air. So the visibility largely gets avoided. So what the Indian government decided to do, that we will be counting these farm fires. Okay, how to count it? We don't have anything like that. So we will be deploying satellite services. So currently our satellites are not that precise enough. We have got certain satellites, we'll be discussing them, but they are not very reliant, very precise enough. So we have delegated this function to the two satellites of NASA. These are Aqua and Sumoi. Okay, and actually Sumi, it's called Sumi but pronounced as Sumoi. So Aqua and Sumi, both of them, they try to measure whatever is happening in the land over the lower atmosphere, calculate the concentration of aerosols and the smoke contribution. Okay, so in order to understand how these satellites have failed to offer proper surveillance, that is why we were thinking that stubble burning is not happening. The data were also telling that stubble burning is not happening. So we were contemplating what is the reason for all this pollution in NCR, but it was actually stubble burning. The data got unrecorded. Why? Because of the inefficiency of these satellites. I'll tell you how. And also because of the loopholes exploited by the farmers of Punjab, Haryana. This is highlighted by this editorial. So can you see in this entire region, you can only see some areas of red colors. These red colors are the flames which are erupting at the time when satellite was moving over this area, which makes me talk to you about the operational details of these two satellites by NASA. What happens is these two satellites, they revolve, okay, they revolve around the earth and they overpass this region, each region at 1:30 p.m. local time and second at 1:30 a.m. local night at night. Okay, so there are only two times when they will be moving. They will be moving and staying there for 9 minutes, collecting the data for 9 minutes and then again going away. Okay, because this is not particularly created for India, correct? It is created for all of the world. It's created by NASA. So this is how they work. Now here is the problem. See, I will tell you what was the controversy regarding the counting method. So NASA scientists on October 2nd, this year only, recorded that there is 40% reduction in farm fires. So the government was happy, everybody was happy, reduction has happened in last year, so fine, we are not going to see that much of pollution. In fact, in 24th of August, they said that this is lowest in the decade. Now this is lowest in the decade was very surprising. We all become complacent. We were happy that this winter is going to be a clearer winter, a safer winter for us. But no, we were wrong. Because this scientist then investigated the same. One scientist of NASA came and then in order to recheck the data, investigated the data from an additional satellite which was given by South Korea. So this is GeoComSat. No need to remember the satellite name, just understand the perspective. So there he realized that actually there is thicker smoke cover as recorded by the satellite data. Okay. And there is more thicker cover the moment the Aqua and Sumi overpasses those regions, which means that the farmers were knowing these timelines. So the moment these timelines and good bandwidth above and beyond them went away, farmers used to burn the paralis, burn the stubble. So we were never able to capture it, but it was actually there. They were burning it, and this was recorded by South Korea's GeoComSat. Okay, so therefore what happened? That we understand that this satellite measurement is because it only captures the blaze visible at that time. It is not able to capture any smoke which is coming out of that area. It only covers the blaze, okay, not the smoke. Somebody who has burned the parali 1 hour ago, The area must have got already smoky, but the satellite is not able to capture that. Are you getting that? So here is a controversy in the data. You can read it out. The data is not very important, but all of these things have made us criticize, the CAQM's role and its criticism. So we all know how it was created and which body it has replaced, which is EPCA, Environmental Protection Control Authority, right, which was created by a non-legislative measure by the intervention of Supreme Court in 1999. And then, of course, it was accused of inaction, being aware of delayed burns. So these things are not very important. You have already read about the criticism through previous analysts. We will see that our Indian satellites not working anyway regarding capturing the data of our satellites, of our Paralis and stubble burning. So we have got 3 satellites actually. One is INSAT. So problem with INSAT is resolution is not good enough. So we are never able to even catch the blazes properly. Next is the GSAT mission. It was supposed to have better accuracy, better resolution, but this mission was a failure. And we have got, of course, the ResourceSat satellite, but till now it has not been able to give very accurate data as well. So what is the need of the hour? Tell me. The need of the hour eventually is to, first of all, we need to reform the role of CAQM, of course. And at the same time, see, air quality management, its authority, its commission, they need to be revamped again. But at the same time, there could be certain scientific and technical measures as well. For example, can we install a ground-based satellite or radar system at multiple places of Punjab-Haryana border so that authentic and accurate data can be assimilated in the right time, so that surveillance can be made, so that preventive actions could be made, right? So that we, the people of Delhi, could not have to see that, could not have to face that burning of eyes and burning of nose sensation. So this is all about air quality and its management. Now here is a question. This has been asked in PYQ. Try to attempt this question and let me know the answer in the comment. The next topic is about the legal issues going on in Sambhal. So this topic is actually important from awareness and interview point of view. So you can skip the topic if you're already aware of it. We are not going to put in very many factual things into it except for the Places of Worship Act. But anyway, stay with me if you want to understand the context. Okay. Now see, what has happened? So 1 week ago, in a district court, a plea was filed against a monument. Okay, this is also an architecture and religious monument. This was the Sambhal's Jama Masjid. Okay, so the plea came and the plea claimed that it is built over and above the site of a Hindu temple. There was a Harihar temple and it was destroyed, demolished and converted into this Jama Masjid in the year 1529 by Babur. Okay, so the district court judge immediately gave the order without even listening the second party. He immediately gave the order of the survey. The first survey got conducted in the very day of the filing of the plea itself, the first day of hearing, and the second after 1 week. And of course, because people were enraged with this kind of stance of the court, it wrought violence which left 4 dead and several other injured. So this is a classic case where a monument and its claim and its religious claim has led to claiming of lives of people. We have already seen this in the case of Babri Masjid Ram Mandir case. We've seen this in the case of Gyan Vapi Mosque. We've seen this in Madhya Pradesh recently in Kamal Maula Mosque, right? So there have been certain instances, but this is a peculiar case where the case that has been shown by the district court, it has been opposed by a lot of people. Okay, now see, if I ask you this question, or if it gets asked in the interview or prelims examination, that can the religious nature of a temple be changed? The answer is a clear no, and which is safeguarded by the Places of Worship Act 1991, which tries to maintain the religious character of a particular place after and prohibits the change in the religious character after 15th of August 1947. So ideally, according to the law, it is illegal. One cannot try to change the religious character. But in certain cases, of course, we have seen that the changes happen, some of the things have got demolished as well. So of course, without hurting the sentiment of anybody, here is where I want to highlight that what did court say and why did it spark protest. So the thing over here is the ex parte decision. Ex parte decision is the court judgment was made without hearing both the parties. The second party, plea was filed by one party and the court immediately made the decision to do the survey. They didn't even wait for hearing the second party. That is why the protests were sparked off. Okay, so I hope you've understood this. Now I will tell you some other things. What are the claims? The claims is this was originally a Harihar temple. Now see, there is a historical significance of Jama Masjid, and actually, the Babar Masjid and Jama Masjid, all of them are kind of correlated. I'll tell you how. So all of them were built during Babur's reign only. So which means their demolition of the erstwhile Hindu temples and building mosques over them were done during the reign of Babur, which is 1526 to 1530. This demolishment happened in 1529. So of course it was done by Babur, right? So 3 mosques, the Panipat Mosque, the Babri Masjid, which is now demolished, and this Jama Masjid, all of them were created by Babur after demolishing respective Hindu temples. Okay. Now, what is the role? One more term you must be hearing, you must be coming across. This is Jamaat Ulama Hind. This is a second party. So they have referenced this act, and they have told that we are having great concerns about how the judiciary is rolling out with regards to Ayodhya verdict, that even if they are not allowed to make these decisions, they are prohibited by the Places of Worship Act, they try to pick out some loophole and then convert it. This is what they are claiming, right? The second thing is, we have heard about, of course, the Archaeological Survey of India. From prelims point of view, very important question. It was established by Alexander Cunningham, who is also known as the father of Indian archaeology. In which year? 1861, one of the oldest organizations that we have, in fact the oldest one, if I may say so. Okay, this was governed by this particular act, and it protects over 3600 monuments. Now, what is the role of archaeological survey? That these surveys are made by archaeological survey only, and specially, see, if any monument is safeguarded under ASI, then they can be called upon for a revision and their survey. Okay, so I will tell you what are the exceptions, why certain exceptions have been given. Of course, in the case of Ayodhya, Gyanvapi mosques, this Places of Worship Act has been flouted, and the ancient and historical monument or archaeological sites covered under this particular act, they are also safeguarded. And this one was actually covered under this act, the 1958 Act, and therefore it was allowed to, make a survey on it. Next is, if the suit has been finally settled or disposed of, then again, this act need not to be again revoked, which is the Places of Worship Act. So these are certain exceptions to the act, and therefore there is a criticism. First criticism, it bars judicial review. Once decision has been made, once suit has been made, it has been settled, then no further judicial review can be made, which is against the basic structure of constitution. Agree? Next is, it imposes arbitrary, irrational, retrospective cutoff date, which is 15th of August 1947. Why that cutoff has been chosen, nobody knows. Of course, independence happened, but of course there is no particular date which should be chosen for all the architectural monuments alike, right? So this is also debatable. Therefore, certain criticisms are attracted by this particular act. Okay. Now coming to the next topic, here is where we have recently established an experiment, a telescope, the MACE telescope in the Ladakh region, which will be given one of its kind experience to the cosmic gamma rays. Okay, now this is a very important topic from prelims point of view, so please be attentive to it. So first and foremost, this is the image. This is the image of this telescope. So it's a giant telescope which is meant not just to look into the stars and the black holes and identify them, but to understand and to capture the Cherenkov particles. What? The Cherenkov particles. And this is the reason why MACE full forms to Major Atmospheric Cherenkov Experiment. So what is a Cherenkov particle? It is a high energy particle which in dielectric medium, don't get into the scientific terms, just understand, these are the particles which in dielectric medium can reach a speed higher than the speed of light. So have you seen anything being so energetic that it is getting the speed higher than the speed of light? What is the speed of light? 3 into 10 raised to the power 8 meter per second. In certain medium, these Cherenkov particles, which are specifically the gamma particles, the highly energized particles, they are able to cross this speed as well. So can you wonder where they could be coming from? They could be coming from the regions which are having highest of the energies, which are the supernova events, which could be the neutron stars, which could be the black holes. So they are not neutrons which are coming from sun or from stars. They are the highly energized particles which are coming from the areas which are underexplored by us. So that is the significance of installing a Cherenkov telescope. I hope you've understood that. Now the second question, ma'am, why have we only installed, and why at all we are installing everything in Ladakh only? So Ladakh recently, specifically the Hanle district of Ladakh, has been designated as a dark sky reserve of India because of its preservance of the darkness of the sky, which is very rare these days. You will not be able to count all the stars because light pollution is everywhere. The other forms of pollution, air pollution is also there, but in Hanle, Ladakh, it is preserved. So dark skies are very clearly visible, and because of less light pollution, less smoke, less air pollution, all the astronomical observatories are getting installed here only. This is the reason. India's astronomical observatory is also situated at Hanle, Ladakh. Getting the point? Now, talking about it, it is the highest because it is situated at 4.3 kilometers above the sea level at Ladakh. It is world's highest imaging Cherenkov telescope, which could also mean this is going to give us the most efficient and productive images as compared to other telescopes of the world. Okay, now it is also having a dish which is largest in the Asia, okay, and second largest worldwide. Now, who has led to its development? Interesting thing is it is completely indigenous. It has been supported by industry partners and of course by our prominent astronomical partners like BARC, and we have got the Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, Electronics Corporation of India, and Indian Institute of Astrophysics. Okay, can you also tell me in the comment, where is the headquarters? Where is this Indian Institute of Astronomics located? Try to answer that. The second question you would be asking is, what are these Cherenkov particles, or what are these gamma rays? So these are the highest energy particles ever found in the universe, therefore reaching speed more than speed of light. Okay, their energy is greater than 1 lakh electron volt, which is compared to if you combine 1,000 suns together, it is having more energy than that. Okay, and they are emitted from pulsars, supernova, black holes, gamma ray bursts, and we know that we don't have a lot of data on them, but the moment we'll be able to understand these particles, we'll be able to understand these structures of the earth, of the universe as well. Okay, so this is the Cherenkov radiation. Now don't get into too much depth of it, just understand that they look like a blue light. Okay, and they travel faster than light in the air. The second is, they will also help us to understand dark matter. How much dark matter content is there in the universe? We all know that universe is prominently, 70% of the universe is made up of dark energy, and 25% of it is made up of dark matter, and only 5% of it, roughly 5% of it, is the visible matter, all that you see around you. If you are able to see farthest of the galactic nuclei, or you are able to see you and me and all the things that are visible, just constitute 5%. Dark energy is responsible for expanding the universe. Therefore, we know that universe is continuously expanding. And dark matter is responsible for keeping everything together. That is why we know that our sun is not moving away from us. Okay, so these are the different types of matter, and these are the most undiscovered form of matter. Why? Because they don't interact with the matter at all. So it's not easy to detect them. But through the Cherenkov experiment and these telescopes, we'll be able to understand it. Okay, and okay, this is something that has been given in second paragraph, and this is a question for you. Try to answer this one. And now moving on to the next topic. So this topic is from economics. Okay, now 1 in 5 banks of India see a rise in the loan write-offs. So then what do we mean by loan write-offs, and how do we classify loans, and how does writing off loans helps the bank? For that, first see the growing trend. So it is not about all the scheduled banks, but 1 in in every 5. So this is the first one. You will see increase in the write-off. Then again the fifth one, increase in the write-off can be seen. Then again the fifth one, again increase in the write-off can be seen. So every 5th bank is seen an increase in the writing off of the banks. And especially these are the top 6 out of the top 10 banks are there, like the Punjab National Bank, HDFC, Bank of India, Axis Bank. They have recorded increase in loan write-offs during this year. This is basically to clear off their balance sheet. Now, what is writing off the loan and what is waiving off the loan? Okay. See, first thing is, let's say a person is not able to repay their loan. Loan is essentially an asset for the bank. You get interest for it. So it's an asset for the bank if I'm a bank, right? Whereas the saving account that you are saving into my bank, they are liability for me because I have to compound it with some interest from my side. So it's a liability. So banks go on for giving a lot of loans. But the problem comes when the person who's taken the loan is not able to pay off the loan on time. This creates bad balances for the bank. So so it obviously creates a bad balance sheet of the bank, which will erode the trust of the people. I will not deposit onto a bank which has got a bad balance sheet, right? So therefore, to clean up the balance sheet, there are two things which are done by the bank. First is waive off. So waive off means I'm completely cancelling the loan amount, which means the borrower is completely free from the particular debt. Okay, they don't have to do it anymore. Government generally provides these kind of waive off support to the farmers. Okay, now loan write off means that I'm cleaning up my balance sheet. Okay, I'm not recording it into my balance sheet. I just want to clean up the balance sheet, but in reality, I will try to recover it at some later date. Okay, so which means I'm postponing the recovery, but for this year, I'm writing this off and I'm putting it to the next year's balance sheet. Okay, next, when a loan is waived off, the bank will not attempt to take any legal action against the borrower. But in this case, because they are still expecting some kind of recovery, even if 30%, they are expecting it. So they can recover the loan and will take the help of a legal entity. Okay, so loan write-off process again is a kind of lawful process where it is taken up by the banks and the bad banks and the NBFCs together so that they can get some money recovered back. Then in the case of write-off, any collateral given by the borrower, they will either confiscate it, okay, until the borrower makes a repayment, or the collateral is auctioned off. Okay, so that they can get some money out of that collateral. So one of these two things will be there. This is not so in waive off. Okay, so in waive off, you're completely free. There is no loan on you. But in the case of write off, the bank is completely free of having any record of the non-performing asset. But you, if you've taken the loan, you will still be indebted to pay back the loan. Otherwise, bank would be taking legal actions. Correct? You can see what are the trends of writing off of loans on the Indian banks seen in the last decade. Okay, and how much recovery has been made. It has always been less than 20%, less than 30%. Recently, it was also announced that Vijay Mallya's, who's a willful defaulter, along with him Mehul Choksi, their loans were written off by some of the banks, right, to clear them up. Anyway, from prelims point of, what do we have to read? So loans and advances, which are essentially asset for the bank, they can be classified into two categories. One is the standard asset, one is a non-performing asset. So if anybody is able to pay back their interest for the loan that they have taken, it's a standard asset for the company. It is going to, for the bank, it is going to give them profit. But if you have exceeded 90 days of the termination of your last day on which you had to repay your interest, then in that case, bank thinks that this is a non-performing asset. It puts under the category of NPA. Now, amounting NPAs will lead to erosion of the trust of the bank over the bank from the side of Indian economy, from the side of Indian consumer. To retain that, they try to clear up this NPA. NPAs can be further classified into substandard, doubtful, and finally loss asset. Loss asset, I have lost all the hopes. It is not recoverable. Okay, so I probably will write off this loan. Next is the doubtful asset. If it has been under the NPA category, that is defaulted for 90 plus 12 months, that is for 1 year. So 1 year plus 90 days, then that is a doubtful asset. I am highly doubting this will not be recovered. I will become more hopeful if the NPA has lasted for 90 days and up to, which is less than 12 months. I will be more hopeful. So these are substandard assets. So please understand these things. Okay, what non-performing assets are and how are they classified. Here is a question for you. This is a prelims pointer which you can practice by your own. And now, my dear students, we've finally come to the last topic of the day. Thank you for staying with me, and this topic is about Proba-3. So this project is actually envisioned and created by European Space Agency, but it has got specific significances for India because we have been given responsibility for launching it. So this also gives us good rays of hope for international collaborations on the space sector, right? This will also help us to expedite a space economy, which currently is only 2% of the total space GDP, space economy GDP. We would want to leverage it to up to 8%, which is four times. which means amounting up to $44 billion worth space-based economy, and international collaborations like these will give us a very good hope in this regard. Okay, so what is Proba-3 and how is it very unique from the other solar missions? Because see, it is not very easy to come near to the sun and try to observe its hottest layer, which is the corona, which is 1 billion times degree centigrade of temperature. It's not very easy because first of all, it could hinder the machinery, it could burn off the complete satellite. So a new tactic has been created by the European Space Agency in the form of Project Onboard Autonomy Proba-3. This is not the first time we are launching it. One was launched in 2001, that was Proba-1, then Proba-2, now Proba-3, and here they are going to take assistance, the launching assistance from India, because we are already going to do it with Aditya L1, right? We are already doing it with Aditya L1. Now, the agenda is to study sun's corona. But what is very unique about this particular project is that it is going to utilize precision formation flying, which means they are going to launch not just one satellite but two satellites, and they are going to set themselves into a very precise formation for the rest of their life cycle. So can you see this image? So what will happen? There are going to be two spacecrafts. One would be the occulter. So let's say here is the sun. Now if the measurement spacecraft, which is the coronagraph, to measure the corona and its particles, if I place the corona just in front of it, it will be unnecessarily impacted by a lot of heat waves. So it will not be able to, understand the specific CMEs, coronal mass ejections, the plasma that is coming out of it. So what it needs some kind of shade from that very, like how we put up the glasses, right? So that the intensity gets lowered down. So definitely, in this case also, they have created an occulter spacecraft. So occulter spacecraft will be here, and what it will do, it will provide a shade to the coronagraph. Okay? Now, coronagraph therefore will be guarded. Now we'll be able to capture only the essential plasma rays, essential coronal mass ejection activity. It will be able to observe that. Okay? So एक क्या हो रहा है, एक शैडो रीजन बना रहा है जिसको ऑकल्टर कह रहे हैं, एक कोरोनाग्राफ है जो चीज़ों को मेजर कर रहा है. इट्स लाइक कि कोरोनाग्राफ ने एक चश्मा, एक लेंस लगा के रखा हुआ है. इट्स लाइक दैट, एंड यू हैव टू मेंटेन दिस पोजीशन, एंड दैट इज व्हाई it is known as precision formation. They will be flying in this mode only, in maintaining this precision position. Okay, so their launch date is December 4th this year and launched via PSLV rocket, not GSLV but the Polar 1. Okay, Polar satellites are used for observation, GSLV are used for uplifting very heavy things or for for plotting the communication satellites. Okay, so we don't require GSLV here, PSLV will do its work. So it will have two satellites. I've already told you, alignment will be highly precise. That also I've told you, the reason I have told you. The goal is to read about solar flares, coronal mass ejection, and improve the space weather forecasting for the world. Okay, and that is why we would require international collaboration. As you can see, this is what is this? This is coming in between it. This is eclipsing it. This is giving the shadow. So this is occulter, and this one is coronagraph. Got it? Now, what are the unique features? This is first ESA mission designated to precision formation flying. Okay. Second, it is one of its kind international collaboration between ESA and ISRO. So this is all about today's analyst and this particular topic. India herself has got the very own indigenous Aditya L1 mission, and this question was also asked, so try to answer this question. I will be looking them and the accuracy of your answers in the comment section, and I actually really appreciate the people who try to answer it, because it looks as if they have really been investing their time into reading current affair holistically, which also makes us believe that our time got well invested into you. So thank you so much for attending it. Feel to approach us till we meet again. Bye bye.